Hi and welcome to Healthy Life Hacks. I'm Jefferies, the present day wise woman, a realistic naturopath coming to you from the surfing beaches of Australia. This podcast is for those of you who are wanting to really rock your life and health and live from a place of prevention. Let's get into today's episode. Eggs are good for you. They are. Eggs are good for you. I remember back in the 70s and 80s, and family friend going over to their place one day for breakfast, and he was pulling the egg yolk out and just eating the white. I'm going, what are you doing? I was like, you're a kid. And he said, oh, no, they're no good. I get high cholesterol and they absolutely raise my cholesterol and they're just no good for you. I know, okay. And that was, a long time ago. I love how science, can be and should be revisited, because back in those days, they just measured cholesterol. Nowadays, they measure good and bad cholesterol. And what's been found is that within eggs, there's good fats and there are bad fats. That's it. So in cholesterol, there's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. And the egg yolk contains good fats to boost our good cholesterol. So today, I want to talk all about eggs, the difference in the kind of eggs, because you go to the supermarket nowadays and it's like, what? There's so many types of eggs. I want to talk about that. And in the show notes, if you're in Australia, I'm going to give you the list of the brands that are considered to be good eggs in Australia that you can buy in Woolworths and Coles, our two main supermarkets. So let's jump in. What's the difference? So you've got conventional eggs. These are your standard supermarket kind of eggs. The chickens, the hens, whatever you want to call them, they lay the eggs and they're usually in barns and they're usually fed grain. They're supplemented with vitamins and minerals to keep the bird kind of healthy. Then we've got organic eggs. So this is where the hens are not treated with any hormones. They receive organic feed and they're allowed to pick around the pasture. Then we've got what they call pasteurized eggs. So the chickens are allowed to roam free. Oh my gosh, like my childhood. There was a chook place at the end of our street, and it was like, they just roam free and they're allowed to eat plants and insects and all the natural foods, along with a little bit of commercial feed. And then we've got, nowadays you'll see omega-3 enriched eggs. And basically they're like conventional chickens kept in barns, except the feed is supplemented with omega-3s. Now, omega-3s are good fats. So they're using things like flaxseed oils, and the chickens may have some access to the outside world. About 30 years ago, I was living in a different part of Brisbane, and there was a chicken hen egg farm thing. I don't even know what do you call them. Anyway, there was these big sheds full of chickens, and I was visiting a friend who their house backed onto that area one night. Now, these chickens, if you went there, they were kept in light 24 hours a day. So 24 hours a day, they're fed food. It's almost like force-fed food. They've got a source of food constantly, and it's 24 hours a day light. There's no dark. And we tracked it, and the chickens were growing nearly 2 to 3 times faster than what a regular chicken should take to grow, because they're being fed all the time and they're kept in light. Scary, horrible thing to experience one night when we were there was seeing, we heard the trucks pull up. So we thought, we'll have a look and see what happens. So they went in at night and they turned the lights off in these big sheds, and the chickens just sat there. They'd never seen dark. And the handlers, whatever you want to call it, people went in there and they just picked up 3 or 4 chickens at a time and threw them in cages. And, they were trucked off to be slaughtered. Yeah, that's it. So they weren't necessarily egg chickens, but the whole process of the way it was done was so damn unnatural. And you think of chickens who are laying the eggs, a chicken is not meant to be stuck in a little cage and fed where it can't move around. And what I know is that an animal is the same as a human, that if we experience a stress, it physically changes our body chemistry, the same as an animal. So a chicken that's stuck in a cage all day and fed is under stress and is not going to have the nourishment within the egg and the nutrition that a chicken that's just happy out in the paddock, pecking around the way it's meant to. And like they were when we were kids. Chickens were just raised like that when we were kids. Anyway, it's just different now. I get it. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about a few of the differences so you can maybe start tracking down some happier eggs. And look, I'm vegetarian. I eat eggs, but we're very aware in our family of tracking down good eggs. So we see nowadays some will be labeled no hormones. Well, or they'll say like farm fresh, all natural. The reality is that egg laying hens are not given hormones. They're not given hormones, okay? But the marketing that some companies do, they'll say things like that to try to be seen to, that their product is better. But really, all of the eggs on our market could be marked as hormone-free or farm fresh or all natural just because of the way marketing is done. It's very misleading. Anyway, so why would we want to have an egg that comes from a pasture-raised chicken, one that's just pecking around the paddock versus one that's stuck in a cage or a hen house all day? So pasture-raised eggs have things like a third less cholesterol, a quarter less saturated fat. Saturated fat is the bad fat that clogs our arteries. 2/3 more vitamin A. That's huge. 2 times more omega-3 essential fatty acids naturally, 3 times more vitamin E, and 7 times more beta carotene. That's the part that makes it kind of the orangey color, and that it gives that richness of the vitamin A. So they found that eggs from hens raised outdoors in the sun, pecking around, had 3 to 6 times more vitamin D than eggs that are raised in confinement in a shed. And it makes sense. So the pasture-raised ones are exposed to direct sunlight, same as us. When we get out in the sun, we get more vitamin D. And in the case of a chicken, it gets passed into their eggs. So eating just a couple of eggs a day from a pasture-raised chicken will give you 63 to 126% of the recommended daily amount of vitamin D. What I know for sure is that majority of people on this planet nowadays are low in vitamin D, which can then go and lead to a host of problems. So I really like pasture-raised eggs just for that. So what's the difference between the conventional and the omega-3 ones? Because the omega-3 ones are getting a lot of plugging at the moment. So a study that was done showed the difference between the fatty acid composition of 3 types of eggs: the conventional, the regular kind of supermarket ones in the sheds, and chuck them in a cage, all that stuff, the organic, and the omega-3 enriched. So the omega-3s had 39% less arachidonic acid. Now, arachidonic acid is the inflammatory omega-6 essential fatty acid that most people eat too much of. So with all the fats, omega-3s, and I've done podcasts on it, omega-3s, omega-6s, and 9s, we need to have them in balance. Most people's regular diet has too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3. Omega-3 is the anti-inflammatory. And that's why they're doing, push the omega-3s. Now, the omega-3 eggs had 5 times as much omega-3, which is cool, as the conventional eggs. But there was basically no difference between the organic and the conventional eggs. So the omega-3 enriched eggs came from chickens that had been fed extra omega-3s. So things like flax seeds, which isn't really natural. The chicken's not meant to be, eating flax seeds every day. So I'm still a fan of pasture-raised chickens, but I'm a big fan. I have flaxseed oil most days. I don't go eating the oily fish, like things like salmon, which is a great source of omega-3s, but it's something I don't eat. But I'm a big fan of having flaxseed and flaxseed oil of a day to get my extra omega-3s. And in fact, flaxseed oil is just so yummy to put as a dressing on salads. You just need to make sure that you store it in the refrigerator. It's a really yum oil and just loaded with so much goodness. So the best eggs totally come from the pasture-raised hens that graze outside all day like a chook is meant to. And you'll find those kind of eggs, they have a stronger shell. They've got a richer colored yolk, almost a deep orange, which is rich in the carotenoids, the minerals, and the anti-inflammatories and that. Higher in vitamin A, vitamin E, and omega-3s, and lower in cholesterol and saturated fat. So if you've got a local farmer in your area that you can get hold of happy eggs, or just a family person who's got a couple of chooks and is getting plenty of eggs, they're the ones you want to get most. Something I wanted to address is the fact that free range is not pasture range. This is a scary piece of marketing. So under law, Eggs that are labeled free range must come from hens that are able, that's the word, able to roam and forage outdoors for at least 8 hours a day. Okay, so must be able to roam and forage. Now, if you've got 10,000 chickens in the shed, which is the kind of thing they do, they're not all going to get out of the door for 8 hours a day. Yet because there's a door in that shed that says the chickens can get out of, they're allowed to call it free range. Not a fan of those eggs. So with free range, they say the maximum outdoor stocking, and some of the eggs you're buying nowadays, they'll say how many hens per hectare. So it's meant to be no more than 10,000 hens per hectare of land, or 1 hen per square meter. Imagine a chook just being allowed to roam within 1 square meter a day. That's not real cool. So they're able to get outside, preferably for 8 hours a day, but then they'll come inside to roost and lay their eggs to be housed securely at night. Free range, sadly, is a marketing term. It really is. And the chickens are still locked in warehouses, fed an unhealthy diet of soy and grains. You'll find their yolks are a yellow yolk. They're not that rich, deep, orangey kind of yolk. And they tend to be higher in omega-6, the inflammatory fats. So they're not real cool. In the show notes, I have given you a list of the best and worst free-range eggs in Australia as per Choice Magazine. So Choice Magazine is a very respected source here in Australia. And so I'm giving you the best within Woolworths and the worst within Woolworths, the best stocked by Coles, the worst stocked by Coles. Your healthy life hack for this episode is simple. Track down your local pasture-raised eggs, preferably, and enjoy them. Support your local farmers. Get out there and do that if you can. If not, at least go and track down some healthier ones at the supermarket, because the healthy ones make a huge difference to your health. I want to thank you for being here today. If you enjoyed my podcast, please let me know by leaving a review on Apple Podcast. Every month, I draw one lucky person who leaves a review on Apple Podcasts to have a free 1-hour consultation with me. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you're tuning in from so that you always catch the next episode. And if you would like to receive a free copy of my Feed Your Body ebook, simply click the link in the comments below. Join my newsletter and we will get that free ebook sent to you. I welcome your emails, and you can write to me at podcast@healthylifehacks.com.au. Until next time, remember, when it comes to life, live it, love it, and get on with it.